I can't hear you. Nice hat, though. Okay. If you can hear me, that's all that matters, I guess. I can't hear you guys, though, but I assume that's on purpose. Okay. Just as long as I can hear you when we get going, I guess, right? Otherwise, I'll just guess what you're saying, and then I'll just jump in as hard as I can. Just start screaming.
Can you hear me?
Ah! Hello. Yeah, I hear you.
Check. 1, 2, 3.
Well, that's the stream, but I can hear you, yes.
Check. 1, 2, 3. Can we need to hook it up so that I can hear him in real time? He hears me in real time. I'm listening to him on the stream right now. So do we? What about if we do a group call and then he calls me on my Skype account? We have a group call between your Skype, my Skype, him, and then I talk to him through my channel, and then your channel pipes into Skype. Right. I think that'll work. And then do you have a microphone on that so that I can hear him? Yeah. I just need audio, that's it. Like, so I can hear him. That's all I need. Yeah, something like for like an iPod. Right on. I think that'll work. Seems logical to me. It's kind of a janky solution, but yeah, it's not ideal, but oh shit. Yeah, that's fine. Don't want another audio pickup because we don't want another microphone because then it'll get reverberation. This is what he. think you got it. No. No. I just mute it. Well, I wanted to be able to, so I can interact with chat on whichever computer.
This is my computer. So I can this one. Right?
Sure. That's okay.
Oh, I have it right. Okay, now you call. Get it. Yeah. Now people to this call.
Hey,
Jeff.
Hello.
Can you hear me, buddy?
Yeah.
Okay,
we
we
got
got
magic.
I can hear you twice though.
Yeah, we
got
got
some,
reverberation. Ooh,
So
it was like
Sci-fi theme.
it was like a wizard.
Wow.
How do I turn the volume down? My ears are blown out.
Hello. Check.
Clearly it's picking you up on 2 different things.
Is the microphone on
Yeah,
one
it's
of these
picking you up on
laptops?
this one. How do I turn that on? Like this.
Yeah.
But now,
Check. 1, 2.
you sound like you're in a...
How do you turn it off?
Check. 1, 2, 3.
Yeah.
Check. Can you hear me, Jeff?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, good. It's all good.
I kind of liked the sci-fi echo.
After everything you said. And this week, we have more news. Just goes out.
From space.
Okay.
We've upped the production value.
So when you want Jeff to be able to be heard and seen, you have to hit this click on window caption. It's already right there.
Are we streaming presently? That's funny. I don't know how to work the magical Mac. Can you pull up the show notes, or do you need this?
Oh, yeah, I think that's
These goofball Macs just don't make sense to me.
So the stream is here. This is here. And here are the show notes.
All right.
2 fingers, and then you see 2 fingers, and then you move it up now. Yeah?
What wizardry is this? This
fingers.
Macintosh.
Oh,
Under count. Get out of here.
okay, so I'm gonna put up Jeff's window capture. So it's gonna look like that for the start of stream. Is that okay?
That sounds great. All right. And yeah, we got it done with 2 minutes to spare.
Plenty of time.
That's ahead of schedule for us. Yeah, it's usually like, oh, we have 5 seconds. Go. Hey. The key is to look like it was all planned. That's good. All right, guys. Can everybody hear it? Check, check, check. Are you guys picking us up? I'm logged out of chat. Marion, can you ping him? Jeff, can you give us a sound check?
Hello, testing. Hi.
Hey, what's up, everybody? We are about to go live, just making sure that everything is working. Crew member on Deadliest. Okay. And then can we turn up Jeff's volume, is the gain or whatever the case?
Yeah.
Check, check. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Check. Can you guys hear me okay?
Oh, I know. Where's that one? This one.
Check 1, 2, 3. Check, check. Survivor Africa. Thanks, guys.
It's chat thing. In terms of Jeff's audio. How Jeff do you know
CW
what's happening?
Dub wins the comment section on that one. All right, guys, if you could give us some feedback, let us know if you can hear Jeff and I okay. It's a little bit of a complex system here. Okay, they can hear me fine. Jeff, could you check again one more time?
Hello, my name is Jeff.
Good.
Hello.
The visual's coming, guys. We're still just making sure the audio's working before we jump in. Okay, it sounds like we're good to go. Nice. All right. How's the shot? How's the shot?
Great.
Okay.
I just need to put you up because we still have this thing up.
All right. We're ready to go.
And we're live.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to Signals from the Frontline, your every Monday and Friday live video cast on Twitch, also on YouTube and on iTunes, Signals from the Frontline. Download the podcast. It's brought to you, as always, by frontlinegaming.org. It's your place to get hobby goodies, 10 to 25% off retail. So check us out. We also have a sale going right now for all the new pre-releases up on GW's website, which the big one is the Storm Surge. So go ahead and get your order in to orders@frontlinegaming.org or call it in at 888-781-5120 and you get 25% off the new Storm Surge. Pretty badass. You'll notice that I'm alone today, and that's because Frankie's off at a bachelor party, and he will be gone for a
party
week.
animal.
He is. He is. Frankie is known to tear it up. But I am joined by the ghost of Christmas past, a.k.a. Jeff In Control Robinson, all the way from the Bay Area of California. How you doing, Jeff?
Good. Yeah, and my mic picks up everything, so I apologize. You guys can hear a helicopter. Yesterday, I guess there's some kind of seafair thing going on here, so like Blue Angel fighter jets flew over my apartment, and I shit you not, maybe I've been watching too many movies, but for 2 seconds, my reality was I was like, this is it. We're getting bombed. And I was like, okay.
You're
Good
a
night.
little paranoid there, buddy.
Good night, sweet prince. Well, you know what? It's not every day you hear 3 fighter jets go over your house.
I used to work near the Marine Corps Air Base here in San Diego, so I got pretty used to it. The jets flew overhead like 10 times a day.
Nobody's gonna bomb San Diego. Someone will bomb San Francisco if they have the chance, though. See, that's the thing.
Yeah, that's a little egocentric, you know what I'm saying?
You think so?
San Diego tactically would be a more important target than San Francisco. We got Navy base, Marine Corps Air Base.
It's true.
So, you know.
You're looking at it wrong, though. The real advantage to bombing San Diego is getting rid of all of those hobos, and then when you occupy America, it's less of a burden on your financial system.
You're going to tell me there's more hobos in San Diego than the Bay Area? I'll tell you that you're wrong.
Certainly above ground, at least. They shamble the streets in droves, man. They're really common.
It's like being in The Walking Dead.
Yep.
So at any rate, we're going to have a bunch of great news to go over. Also, some people were commenting on my Skype picture, which you're seeing right now comically. No, that's not a stint from The Deadliest Catch, nor was it Survivor Africa. That was from when I know that was pretty funny. That was from when I attempted to ride a bicycle around the world, and that was taken in Mexico.
You say attempted, but I'm gonna go ahead and upgrade you to pretty much did. You don't need to humble yourself before everybody.
I didn't make it all the way around the world. I went 8,000 miles. So
is that all?
Didn't quite make it. Okay. But anyway, let's go ahead and jump into the news. So, as I stated, be sure to get your pre-order special in. It ends today. So if you want 25% off the new Storm Surge, make sure to grab it. We should also be video casting a special game tomorrow, Saturday, October 10th, live on Twitch. And we've got a couple gentlemen coming up from the Central Valley of California that want to practice shoutcasting the game. Nice. They're auditioning for the Las Vegas Open.
That's actually, that should be Warhammer in its final form. Like, the stream you guys do is awesome, but what it needs, and you guys don't have the bodies for it, is 2 people talking about Warhammer and what's going on in the game to the best of their ability while it's happening. So that's really cool to hear. Exactly.
And these gentlemen reached out to us. They're really funny from our conversations. They're really excited to do it. And I think the experience is going to be good to see how they are live with the commentary in terms of their knowledge of the game, their banter, but also technically how we're going to do it. Because if you're going to have shoutcasters, the guys playing the game are going to be less a part of the cast. So it's going to be striking a balance between listening to the players, the shoutcasters, or is it just the shoutcasters? So we really want to get people's feedback. And Jeff, I'd love to hear your input on that too, since that's what you do professionally.
Oh, I'll be watching for sure. I mean, yeah, it's so hard to imagine, because like the 2 commentators have to see enough of the game, like they have to see every little dice roll and movement. They have to be knowledgeable enough about the game to talk about it and even predict. That part's a little bit less so, because if you just know the game, you can, even if you're wrong in your predictions, that too can be fun. But then you also have to be in a place where the players can't necessarily, because you're like, oh god, he forgot that he needs 2-inch coherency, and the other guy's like, oh yeah, I need 2-inch coherency. He's like, fuck you. You're like, then it's not a real game. So it's this really tough balance. But if someone can figure it out, I mean, I thought at LVO we did a pretty okay job. Like, I think with the more experience we have now, and maybe some better camera angles, it could be even better. But that's what you want, is to keep it legitimate for the players, but still detailed enough that it's entertaining for the audience.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's the key to making 40K fun to watch. Because, quite frankly, watching the game while the players are trying to basically commentate their own game is really difficult, because so much of it happens in your head. And one of the things I was thinking is that you could have either the shoutcasters listening to the players or somebody else listening to the players and like giving the shoutcasters information about what they're talking about, and that they could on the fly look at that data and then feed that into the ongoing conversation and keep it interesting that way.
Yeah, that's the goal.
So it'll be a bold experiment. So be sure to join us October 10th, tomorrow, 1 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, to check the game out and to give us some feedback on what you think about the shoutcasting. And on to the news. Cromlech is having a sale on their Imperial Agents miniatures, and it's a bundle deal. Comes up at 20% off retail. Very cool. These are quite clearly meant to be miniatures that could be used for a game like Warhammer 40,000. So
yeah, I'm thinking Inquisitors.
Inquisitors, a priest, or a sanctioned psyker. I think you could use any of those, and they look great. Cromlech is a great company. They're Polish-based. They support the tournament scene. Really good guys. Definitely make sure to check these out if they interest you. We do sell them when we can get them in stock. Sometimes it's a little tough. Privateer Press has several new releases. The Soul Trappers, the Cognifex Siphon, Denegra the Soul Weaver, and the Horde's Devastation expansion book, the Pharaoh Brigand Warlord, Swamp Gobber River Raiders, and the Extreme Feral Warp Wolf, which is one of my favorite models Privateer Press has ever released.
Really? That one?
The Warp Wolf, it's awesome. It's a giant, super badass werewolf. What's not to like about that?
Its pose is very armpity. It's like coming at you with the armpits. Like, I unleash my infernal stench.
Yes, that's part of his tactics. You know, it's like Dick Butkus used to eat an onion before he played, and he'd breathe onion breath into the defensive lineman or the offensive lineman across from him. So it's a traditional attack, Jeff. You got to respect tradition.
Okay, I respect that. But yeah, these are pretty cool. I actually always like. I don't play War Machine. I get asked that a lot. I have nothing against it, but when I look at a lot of these models, I think, you know what the shame? Well, the cool thing is they're gorgeous. They're really cool models. But the shame is half the time you see them, and for me, that's always at tournaments. They're not even painted. That's not to make a complaint out of this, but these painted, they look really cool. I like the lighting effect on the Soul Trappers. That looks really cool.
Yeah, the miniatures are brilliant. I like the cartoony aesthetic. It's kind of like World of Warcraft. Everything's oversized. I like that. But yeah, there's some of the saddest things I've ever seen are a War Machine tournament where none of the miniatures are painted, maybe not even fully assembled. They're playing on like a piece of felt covered in Cheeto dust, and there's maybe two-dimensional pieces of like cloth on the table that's supposed to be a forest, and it just looks so sad. I love War Machine. I think it's a great game, but sometimes you go to a tournament and you're like, that is so hideous, you know? And you know, again, I think it's a great game. I love the miniatures, but I think they could really benefit by stepping up the level of presentation for tournaments for War Machine.
Do you know, are there tournaments that are like, I know that it's kind of a traditional rule that you don't have to be painted, but for ours you do, like 3-color?
Some of them are like that. Like they required you to have painted armies. And it's getting better, but like you said, they came out the gate saying you don't have to paint your stuff. And that helped to bring people into their tournaments at first, which was a benefit then, and it's a detriment now because people are used to it. And I've talked to TOs, War Machine TOs, and I'm like, why don't you guys just say a 3-color minimum standard? And they're afraid that they'd lose up to 25% of their tournament attendance by forcing people to do that. So I get it, but you look at some of those tables and you're like, oh, God, like a board game looks better in some cases. And to be fair, sometimes you see absolutely beautiful War Machine armies and tables. Like the top table at the LVO for War Machine was the best looking table in the whole convention. It was amazing with the Buddha statues and stuff. It was incredible.
That's cool to hear. I mean, and I get it. Like you said, it was a benefit at the beginning. It's just as time goes on, it kind of looks like one of those things where it's like, maybe for the long game we should have said that.
Yeah, I mean, I think incrementally you can start implementing like a higher aesthetic standard, because otherwise it's like one of the things you hear about War Machine a lot is like you don't even need the miniatures. You could just have little chits and basically play like checkers, where the chit's the right size for the base, and it says what it is, and then you just play the game like that, and you could play it quite easily. It'd probably be easier to play it that way. But who wants to do that, right?
Yeah.
That's why we play miniatures games, because it looks cool. Speaking of Privateer Press, they've also showed off an upcoming release, and these guys look amazing. The Death Wolves, which is a Circle Orboros character unit, and these guys look phenomenal. I mean, I might get these miniatures anyway, just because I like them so much.
Yeah, they look really cool. I like the Siths on that right side guy actually coming off his wrist. It's really cool.
Yeah, and then the female character, and then the leader with the stag helmet. That's awesome. I really like Circle. If I were to make another War Machine army besides my dwarves, it would definitely be Circle.
Very cool.
Big news, Adepticon will be hosting the U.S. Nationals Bolt Action Tournament. That should be super cool, and be sure to check it out if you're a Bolt Action player.
Yeah, that's, I mean, just more official, more awesome.
Yeah.
Adepticon's one of the big tournaments.
Adepticon was the independent tournament that started it all, and it's really cool to see them continue to get accolades like this. And Bolt Action seems like it's a great game, 28mm World War II game, so definitely check that out if you're a Bolt Action player. Pathfinder releases a new campaign setting. It's called The Distant Shores, and it's like a pirate or a mercantile ocean setting for the Pathfinder game, and it looks really, really cool. You can have like a boat, all kinds of cool stuff in the Pathfinder setting, which is my favorite RPG.
Yeah, we gotta do that sometime. It looks awesome.
I love Pathfinder. I know you're more of a D&D guy, Jeff, but Pathfinder is basically D&D 3.5. It's really, really good.
I've heard nothing but good things. The only reason I've done D&D is that's what everyone else prefers, I guess, that I've been with.
Yeah, as I understand it, the new D&D Next is doing really well. D&D 4.0 was kind of a flop, so
yeah,
hopefully it's getting some improvement for them. All right. In the video game news, Star Wars Battlefront is going into their beta. So if anybody's interested in being a beta tester for this amazing looking game, definitely check it out. This game looks incredible. It's basically mass combat, multiplayer online game, mass combat in the Star Wars universe, so what's not to like?
Yeah, it's a gorgeous game. It's made by the guys that make, I believe isn't the game called Battlefront or whatever?
It's
like
Star Wars Battlefront.
Well, no. The other game that this company made is Battlefield. It's the competitor to COD anyways. It's always been a very gorgeous game, and I was watching people play the beta. You can play as Darth Vader, you can play as Luke Skywalker, it's massive online play, so it's like every stormtrooper, or most of them at least, are other people, and you can fly vehicles and shit. Like, it's just incredible.
Yeah, it looks pretty badass. I mean, I saw, like, you fly the atmospheric fighters, and you're trying to take down AT-ATs.
Yeah.
It looks super cool. I'm really intrigued by this game, so definitely check that out. New news from the Black Library. This sounds really cool. They're launching a new year-long fictional event in the 40K universe called The Beast Arises. It's supposed to take place after the Horus Heresy, about 9,000 years ago in the fluff, and it's about a giant orc incursion and the brand new Imperium of Man trying to fight them off. It's supposed to be a book a month. They're leading off with Dan Abnett, and it sounds amazing. Like, entire chapters of Space Marines get wiped out. Eldar attack Terra itself. Sounds incredible. Very excited for this.
Just new content in that universe is really exciting. Like, they're definitely, I mean, obviously if you read the books, there's a lot of little individual books about individual characters, but they're not really, none of them forward the story at all or have kind of the sanction to be like, all right, this is history now, you know? Some will like relate to each other, so that's fun enough. But that's awesome. I'm really excited for that.
Yeah, I mean, it's not advancing the story because it takes place 9,000 years ago.
Yeah.
But this is as good as it's gonna get for us, right? Like, GW won't advance into the next millennium unless 40K is selling terribly, and they need to like resurrect the Emperor or kill him off, or they need some crazy thing to drive sales. So this is, I think, the most we can hope for. It's a brand new event,
Yeah.
you know, totally new fluff. So that's really cool. I'm excited for it.
Which I get. There's so much history, and there's so much like this. 40K is their golden goose or whatever. Like they don't want to rattle that cage, but I hope some year they're like, you know what? They're like, look, mate, we're doing a great job. You know, they got an Australian on the council or whatever, and they're like, let's just fucking do it anyways. Like take a little bit of a risk. Like you don't need to resurrect the Emperor. Save that for when you need to hit the red button, I guess. But like,
Yeah.
I would love a sanctioned story about like, let's take a look at fucking Karasan in the warp. You know, he's just biking around killing demons and stuff. Like, I love it.
And Russ. They should like meet up
Yeah.
in the warp and just go kick some ass with
That
Drago.
book would sell. Like, imagine the hype to
Yeah.
probably, I don't know the numbers, but probably there's 1 million fucking Warhammer fans out there.
Oh, I'm sure.
They're like, hey, this book, by the way, it's just it's Drago and Lehman Russ taking on Fulgrim as the demon in the warp, you know, and one of them probably doesn't make it out. Like, people lose their shit. It'd be amazing.
That'd be dope. That would be, think about that as like an animated short put to like Slayer,
Oh god,
right?
all of it, man.
Amazing. So at any rate, get excited for that. I'm definitely going to be reading these books. They sound really, really cool. New news from Infinity. They are launching their new RPG, and it's called Mophidius, excuse me, and they're showing off some of the new miniatures associated with that RPG. They look great.
Yeah. You guys are the model experts, but yeah, they look pretty okay.
Absolutely. So we'll definitely get excited about that if you are an Infinity player. Puppets Wars shows off some new shoulder pads for their growing miniatures line. And these go for the miniatures that they've created, which are modular. So you can switch out the arms, the bodies, the heads, and now the shoulder pads. And these things look badass. I mean, they're so beefcake. I really, really like them. They're a little pricey, but they're all hand-cast resin, so it kind of necessitates that. But check it out if it's something that interests you, if you want some alternative models.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's a mini ETC event called the WTC, and they're looking for mercenary players. The event's going on November 13th through the 15th, and if you're able to go to Europe and you're interested in participating, I know Cyrus from Northern California is one of the players that's going. Hit us up and we'll give you their contact information. They're looking for 2 more players. So if you're interested in a European 40K trip, hit us up. It could be a lot of fun. The gentleman from Malifaux's Most Wanted wanted to correct us on something we've been saying about weird miniatures. And these are great guys. You can check out their podcast on our iTunes feed and on Frontline Gaming. But they said that, yes, the Malifaux models do tend to be single pose, but you don't need more than one of each of them. So when you get a crew, there'll be 3 different, like, grunts, so to speak, and each one is single pose, but it's a different pose, and you'll never need more than those 3. So there is variety, but it's the same variety as everybody else with that crew. Not trying to be negative at all. The miniatures are beautiful, but they did want to point that out, so I thought it was important to mention that. Your crew, each person looks unique, which is awesome.
Yeah, I think that's one of the kind of golden grounds of especially a squad-based game like that, is that each guy is uniquely kitted out and then also looks pretty unique too.
Yeah, exactly. You don't want a situation like with 2nd edition 40K where you had a box of Space Marines and every Space Marine was doing this.
Yeah.
It looked like shit. It's the Rogue Trader Space Marines were better because they were multi-pose.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, upcoming ITC events. Also, make sure to vote on the 3rd quarter poll. Check that out at frontlinegaming.org and make sure to cast your vote. You have until Sunday to share your opinions on any of the current issues that we're voting on. And we've got some ITC events coming up this weekend. We've got the October Showtown ITC event at Game Empire Pasadena. We've got Otto's October ITC event at Otto's Video Games and More in Bakersfield. We've got the Siege on IO ITC 40K tournament in Phoenix, Arizona. We have the Cookout Crusade at the
I think
Twisted
that
Horn
was
Ranch.
canceled, actually.
Oh, okay. That's news to me. But if it is, we'll take it off the calendar. That's too bad. We've got the
Well,
Battle
yeah,
for South.
don't make it official, but she took it off of Facebook, I think. So.
Okay. I'll follow up with the TO and see if that event has been canceled. We have the Battle for Salvation GT in West Nyack, New York, and the Road to War in Hawaii, and those are all occurring this weekend. Make sure to get your ITC points. Speaking of which, Jeff, you're hanging tough in second place.
Yeah, I was excited to see that. I was able to win Willow's little 16-person tournament she held a couple weekends ago, which is awesome. There's going to be another one of that, I think, November 1st at Fundporium or something like that. And
Fundemonium.
Fundemonium, thank you. And then I was able to take second at Peter Kelly's No Mercy GT, a 6-round event. I wrote a blog about it, but Steve Sisk, my nemesis, took first.
Yes, he did beat you in the finals. Sounds like it was a good game. But you got enough points in that event getting second that you replaced one of your other 4 scores. So you maintained your lead on Steve. He's in third, you're in second, and now you're both within striking distance of Pajama Pants. Alan Byramovich in first place. So he had a commanding lead, but you and Steve both have gobbled up the difference. So now I know Alan is looking to go to a couple more ITC events to try and maintain his lead. It's exciting. It's fun to see how much people are getting into it.
Good luck to him, because he's got, I think, 3 GT wins and then 1 second place. So he needs to go to a GT and then win that thing. But I'm just glad Steve and I are able to make it more interesting, because like a week ago it was like a 60 or 50 point lead for first place.
Yeah. He was so far out in front.
Yeah, and I mean LVO's worth a crap ton of points, and everyone knows that that's like the big one, but you still want to be within at least 20 points or something like that going into it to hope to catch someone.
Exactly. The LVO can generate 171.36 points if I remember correctly. So it's a beast. And if you win the LVO and you've already got 4 or 3 solid scores, you're going to win the ITC. But as we all know, going into an event, anybody in the top 10 could have won the tournament. You know, a lot of it comes down to luck and pairings and such. So you want to position yourself to get into the top 8 at the LVO to really ensure that you maximize your score. So it's going to be really exciting. There's going to be a lot of intensity and excitement around the games at the LVO because so much is going to be at stake. It's going to be for the best of your faction, the best overall large cash prize, and then of course just winning the LVO itself. It's going to be really, really cool. I'm really excited.
Well, you guys have pumped up the scene a lot, especially with that cash prize, which by the way is significant. It's not necessarily gonna you don't become a millionaire, but for frickin' Warhammer, there's nothing like it. So these guys, they're like, Siska's talking about going to Minneapolis, which I think Alan will go to as well, which will make for an amazing showdown. And it's all for ITC points. They really care about that ranking, and they want the pride, the honor, and the prize. Yeah,
it's been a vision, like a personal mission of mine for years and years and years to see a little bit more of a unified format, which allows what we're seeing, where you can have competition around the nation, around now multiple countries, and there's a standardized baseline to compare yourselves. Otherwise, if you've got all these different formats, it's apples and oranges. You know, it's not really a true competition in the sense that someone in an event in Northern Canada and someone in Australia are basically playing the same game. So it's really cool. It's really exciting, and it's neat to see how much it's taken off and how much people are getting excited about it. Like you said, people are traveling to events just to get the ITC points. We're getting TOs reporting that all around the North America, Canada, and United States, saying we had guys cross the country because they wanted to get ITC points. So really, really awesome, because one of the goals of the ITC is not just to fluff our own feathers, it's also to get more people traveling to events and to help local GTs and local stores by getting people coming in that wouldn't have. and maybe that person will buy something when they're there, and the local community gets invigorated, right? And they get more excited, and that's the whole point, was to just build more excitement and make it more fun to be a part of the larger 40K community and not just playing your local community, which isn't bad, but it's cooler when it's part of a bigger thing.
It's cooler to have options. You can still play at the local level. You can still have guys in your garage. Fuck, I mean, every weekend I go to Dice Abide's little man cave, and we play games, and we have a good time. But also, if I want, I can be like, you know what? Going to the East Coast and seeing my friends there and playing in a meaningful tournament sounds awesome, too. And it's just so cool to have those options. So just, you know, I'll always say this, but thank you guys for all the work you put into making that possible. It's exciting times for Warhammer, I think.
Yeah, and thank you for the recognition, but it's a group effort, right? If people didn't participate in the ITC, it would be nothing, right? We wouldn't even be talking about anything. So everyone that does anything, even the people that just talk shit about it, you're putting it out there and you're talking about it. So it's good. Everyone is contributing into helping it become what it is, which is awesome. And speaking of which, there's a couple people out there, as always, with the ITC update poll. They're like, being critical for whatever reason. And just to reiterate some points that we have to talk about every time because it always comes up. If you don't see a question on the poll that you wanted to see, that's because no one brought it up through our questionnaire, or they didn't email us about it, or whatever. Make sure that you bring it to our attention, because we can't read your minds. Like, we can't just, reach out into the ether and figure out what's important. We need people to give us feedback. And that's where the poll questions come from. So speak out and advocate. Like, if there's something you feel very strongly about, have your friends reach out too. That's how these things happen and how things move forward. And one of the most common things we hear is like, oh, you guys are picking on a certain faction. It's silly. It's so silly. Like, no, we're not. Like, why would we do that? It would only shoot us in the foot. We gain nothing by doing that. It may appear that way when you feel like something's getting taken away, or a rules judgment is not the way you're used to playing it. It's not. We're not trying to pick on anybody. We're just trying to do what's best for the most people.
Well, you're doing, in my opinion, the reason it happens, and I hope you never change from this, is because you're both an administrator and also a talking head for your own podcast, and you're opinionated, and you share your opinions, and it makes cool discourse, and it's a cool part of the scene. Like, I'd much rather a Reese that talks about what he thinks and a Frankie that talks about what he thinks, as opposed to two guys that run a league, never say a fucking word about their own opinion, and just, like, rehash stuff that comes out, like, okay, this week we got 76 complaints about toe and cover for gargantuan creatures. We're going to talk, we're going to put it to a poll. Nope, I'd rather you guys have your talk show and you do your rules too.
Yeah, I think it's really important that the people that are administrating something that have transparency, including transparency on their feelings about things. I want people to know where my biases lie so that there is no ambiguity. There's no speculation about what our real intentions are. It's like, I quite clearly have been open. I don't like Death Stars. I think they're bad for the game. I don't like it when something is just too powerful or whatever, because I feel like it disrupts the organized play experience, And
you don't get a lot of your way, by the way. Like, you don't like charge distances because you're an idiot, and there's people out there that would be shocked to hear that, because you do say it, but it's never going to be brought up in a poll, because it's a core mechanic that's just, some people have feelings about, but it's not going to be changed.
Exactly.
You don't like spammy lists. There's not, your ITC doesn't have comp rules in the sense that it's like 3 monstrous creatures. Like, the list goes on. So a lot of times people can feel that way because a cool suit comes out, or something awesome, and they're like, it's being taken away from them. They feel like, but guys, also remember, and I know I can name a few people that take advantage of this, but if you have a local tournament that's like, we're going to go ITC, talk to them about changing, like, the comp for that ITC, because it can still count towards ITC, but include a fucking Tau supremacy suit. Like, you absolutely can do that. But if you're attending the BAO, if you're attending the LVO, it probably will not be allowed there if it's outlawed, and that's okay too. Like, in Warhammer, you can play all the different games that you want, and I think that's awesome.
Yeah, the first rule of the ITC is that you can change any of the rules in the ITC. It's been that way since day one. It's literally the first rule. And we're not trying to dictate to people what to do. We're trying to establish a baseline so that we can compete against each other with meaningful results. So anyway, enough of that. Thanks for your input, Jeff. Definitely appreciate that. Rumors. The rumor section is gathered from the web and is not in any way information we receive from any manufacturer, nor is it necessarily accurate. This section of the podcast is intended for entertainment purposes only. So there's light on the rumors right now. It's been pretty slow in the rumor mill, but one really cool thing that's floating out there is there's a new Forge World Solar Auxilia Medicae unit that's supposed to be coming out, and true to form, absolutely beautiful models.
Yeah, that looks good, Lord.
Aren't they sick?
Yeah, the detail is incredible. Both, I know we say this every time, but man, what a tip of the hat to Forge World and Games Workshop, honestly, with the Scar brand. Like, their models coming out.
Scar brand.
And the Tau
so
stuff, the Ghost Keel, like, the rumors that there's a new... well, anyways, I'm getting ahead of myself, but, like, anyone that's getting a new Codex, new models, should be just so excited, because these things are insanely cool.
Yeah, I mean, the quality of the miniatures is second to none. Forge World, Forge World makes the best miniatures in the world in terms of technical quality, in my opinion. Games Workshop makes the best multi-part plastic kits. In my opinion, the only company that comes close would be the really, really nice Gundam models, which I think you could make an argument are technically better. I believe they are. But in terms of just cool factor and aesthetic appeal, Games Workshop has such a wide breadth of amazing, amazing models like Scarbrand. So sick. The Rat God from the End Times. I mean, that guy belongs on the cover of a heavy metal album. I mean, it's so awesome. And these go ahead, buddy.
Well, just the Bloodthirster Scarbrand. Like, I know you've said this before too, but the Bloodthirster in particular has got you basically buying and playing demons just off the Bloodthirster. Yeah.
I'm making an entirely new army because of that model. I'm taking 3 Bloodthirsters. It's not going to be a good list, but it'll be fun.
It'll be the coolest.
It will. I'm taking 1 of each of the Bloodthirsters available to Khorne Demokin. So
cool.
I'll go to a tournament and I'll expect to win 3/4 of my games, and that's it. And then I'll play a hardcore shooting army and I'll cry bitter tears. But I accept that.
Bro, on that note though, you know what you're gonna do?
What's that?
You're gonna take the Fighter Ace upgrade on one of your Bloodthirsters.
Oh.
It gets +1 wound, or it gets +1 invul. And then you can grip bar it for a 2-up invul if you like.
I'm not taking demon allies. I'm going pure KDK. So,
oh, that's too bad. Just take fucking 1 demon ally. Just get the
I was thinking about taking Bellicor, but I was like, nah, I'm just gonna go for it. Like I said, it'll be like my Oryx. I'll win 3 out of 4 games, or at a 5-round tournament, I'll expect to go 3-2, 4-1. That's okay. I'm okay with that.
Not bad.
And these Forge World Solar Auxilia models are absolutely brilliant. They've got this really, really cool retro future look to them. Heavily armored, very, very cool. I think we'll be seeing people making these as substitute stormtroopers or Astra Militarum. And if 30K and 40K ever cross the gap, you might be seeing Solar Auxilia armies in 40K, which would be pretty cool.
Yeah, looks awesome.
On the rumor front with Tau, supposedly the next release will be the new Fire Warriors and the Ghost Keel. And both of these look so cool. The Ghost Keel looks brilliant. Just an awesome model. He's a monstrous creature stealth suit. I actually really like the rules for the Ghost Keel. I know a lot of people out there are negative on him. I think he's going to be really good.
I was reading a lot of positivity, or maybe it was just so in my various like competitive chats that I'm a part of, people are pretty excited about it because it's like it really, especially if it's true about the points, which I think it is at this point. It's a cheap, tough, kind of wonky, a little bit specific in its role, but it acts as like an independent agent, which Tau really does suffer from, right? Like so many times, they jump out there with crisis suits, or they drop them in, and if they have a wall next to them, they can assault move behind it, maybe. That's cool. But if anything shoots at them, for the most part, they just disappear, and then they have a tough time in the ITC, in particular, scoring. Now, all of a sudden, you have a monstrous creature, it's a little bit tougher. It's nigh invincible against shooting it, especially if you don't have Ignore's cover. And it actually packs enough punch that it really can kind of hold its own. But still, at 130 points, we're not talking about a grossly undercosted, like, it's not tough 6, 5 wounds, all this stuff, and then it's like amazing close combat as well. Like actually, if you get close to it, it'll probably die as well, but it has tools to keep itself around.
Right.
I really like it. I think it's awesome.
Yeah. My thoughts exactly. It looks like a perfect skirmisher that goes and gets progressive objectives. That's exactly what I thought. He's cheap. He's mobile. He has good enough firepower. Like he's got the melta weapon, and he's really hard to kill with shooting. So you want to keep him out at that 18 to 24 inch range, which is pretty comfortably out of assault range, and go grab objectives and harass your opponent. And at that price point, you could take 2 or 3 of them, and it's like Eldar jet bikes, but better in some ways. So I think it's going to be.
On him. It's like 6 shot, strength 70p4 or something like that too. If you
with
go
the
that
ion
variety.
weapon. Yep.
He's a monster creature, so he's AP2 in close combat, which again, you don't necessarily want him in close combat, but it's so much better than all the Tau, where it's like, well, I'm strength 5 with 2 attacks and 2 initiative.
And if he needs to go hunt other MSU scoring units, he'll beat them up.
Oh, yeah.
So I think that's really, really cool. I'm excited for it. I think it'll be an important addition to a well-rounded Tau army.
And he's a force multiplier too. He had like that's whatever the blind shot. I think if you target him, so he has once
He
per
can
game.
turn himself invisible to 1 unit once per game,
But
which
it's
is
whoever,
awesome.
I think it's whoever targets him, right?
Yeah. Once
So
per
when-
game, you target him, and he goes, I'm going to go invisible to you, to that specific unit.
Which is so cool because
It's
that's
awesome.
a deterrent. What I see happening is you'll almost never use it. They won't shoot it. Then it's end of the game.
Yes.
He's near an objective, and they're like, "Well, I gotta shoot you." And he's like, "Well, then guess what, Brett? You're blind." And then
Right. And so then the counter strategy will become, I need to make him pop it early in the game by sacrificing a good unit's shooting, not a unit that he's going to be like, oh, I'll just take it. It's got to be something that's going to kill him. And then it forces him to use it early so that he can't use it at the end game. I was thinking the same thing.
which is that whole discussion just has me excited. Like that's strategy, that's stuff. It's cool. I like it.
Agree 100%. Also, the new Fire Warriors are rumored to be a multi-kit. Really interesting. So the hint is that they can make strike teams or breachers. What that means, we don't know yet. But breachers, to me, sounds like they've got some kind of like demo charges or some way to like obviously breach a defense. So really interested to see what that means. You know, like before, basically, you had one version of, or you could have any kind of Fire Warrior you wanted as long as you wanted the regular Fire Warrior. And if we get some options here, that could really open things up. I love the Fire Warrior model. And I've always wanted to make a pulse bomb, infantry heavy Fire Warrior themed Tau army. So maybe we can. I'm really interested to see what we get with it.
I just like options. Like Fire Warriors so often are just the pulse rifles, which is okay. They're great, and that's the better variant. But I like the idea of two different types of units and hopefully even different weapon variants for them. Like just customization for Xenos in general is kind of lacking, and it'd be really nice to have that.
Yep. It's the Imperials get, you know, all sorts of squad upgrade weapons, and a lot of the Xenos don't. And it's really neat to see it when they get some more fun options like this. So cool. Anyway, moving on into the rules lawyers section. So we gathered these questions from our questionnaire. It's on the ITC tab of frontlinegaming.org. So if you have a rules question and you want us to answer it, submit it there. If you have any feedback about the ITC or whatever, feel free to shoot it to us there. And this is how we aggregate what issues are important currently. So King Cruel asks, which profile do they use for the Rapier, Laser Destroyer, and Imperial Armor 13? This is one of those instances where the name of the weapon is slightly different from the unit entry to the weapon summary in the back. It says Laser Destroyer Array in the unit entry and just says Laser Destroyer in the weapon summary. Use that. It's very powerful. It's a Strength 9 AP1 twin-linked ordnance weapon. Not bad. Yeah, it's really, really good. And it's on a artillery platform too, so it's T7, 2 wounds, 3+ save. Peter Bernier asks, can a unit deep striking or outflanking come out of the monolith? Can they then also come out of the monolith after they come onto the table? Two-part question. Part one, yes, any unit in reserve can opt to instead come out of the monolith. gives you a lot of options for deployment. Second part of the question, he's saying like, well, if a unit deep strikes, can they deep strike and then come out of the monolith? Like say they deep strike into a poor position. No, because disembarking from the monolith is a move action. Deep striking or outflanking is also a move action. You can only move once per movement phase, so you know you cannot do that. Dayon916 asks, or Day1, excuse me, what if any character is allowed in the library as conclave? Can I add Severin Loth specifically? And can I use it with the Sentinels of Terra supplement? Three-part question. One, you can only use the specified special characters. So no, you cannot use Severin Loth in the library as conclave. Three, as long as they all have Imperial Fist chapter tactics, you could then use the Sentinels of Terra supplement, and then you could use their relics such as the Bones of Ozark. Goofy D7 asks, how does drop pod assault work when you have multiple detachments with multiple drop pods? The drop pod assault rule does not specify detachments. It just says you add up all your drop pods, divide it by 2, rounding up. That many can come in on turn 1, and it can be across detachment. Some people try to make the argument, well, if I take 3 drop pods and 3 detachments, I can drop 2 from each detachment turn 1, getting 6. No, that's not the way it works. You just add them all up. And this ties into the next question. Can I take a Lucius drop pod for free in a Space Marine battle company because you get free drop pods? No, you cannot. It specifies exactly what you can take, and that's the normal drop pod. You can take a Lucius drop pod or the Dreadnought drop pod in the battle company, but you have to pay the 50 points for it. Z Kasheta asks, what is the difference between counts as and proxy? What category do third-party models fall under? This comes up a lot, and this is kind of a fuzzy question because really it comes down to the rule of cool. If it looks cool, people are going to be okay with it. If it looks janky, like you just threw some crap in there, people are not going to be okay with it. Here's a good example that I think hopefully explains it. If you're using a Tau Crisis suit and you've got an X-Wing TIE fighter and you put it on the table and you go, oh, that's his drone, that's proxy, that's not cool. Now, if you had a whole Star Wars themed army and you had a Star Destroyer and you said that's a Crisis suit and you've got a TIE fighter and that's his drone and it's consistent across your whole army, that would be a counts as, and that would typically be acceptable. Some people don't like it because it's very confusing. If you do that, you need to have a handout with photographs on it to hand to your opponent and go, Star Destroyer equals Crisis suit, you know, TIE fighter equals drone. And if you do it well enough, people are going to be okay with it and they're going to pat you on the back and say, that's cool. If you don't, everyone is going to not enjoy playing against you. So,
and there's there's all kinds of examples of this. Like, if someone also if something like, you know, we were just looking at Cromlech and like these are clearly Inquisitors. They're also not actually Inquisitors, but no one's gonna, like, if you have that guy in your army and you look at him and you say that's my Inquisitor, that's pretty clear cut. That's counts as. People are gonna look at that and be like, okay, that's completely fine. But if you put a Lego with a staff and a wizard hat on, and you're like, that's my Inquisitor. That's where the counts is cool is. Like, people will be like, I understand that's your Inquisitor. That looks like shit.
Sucks. Yeah.
And if you do it like once or something like that, very few people are going to call over a judge and be like, I'd like that removed because it's ridiculous. But if your entire army is just a mismatch of your like 7-year-old child's toy bin, you're probably going to have problems at tournaments. And that's like the best way to look at it, because there's no, like, on the door, very few tournaments say like, every model must be Games Workshop, and so help me God, if it's not, you're out of here. Like, people are pretty cool. They're okay with it. But if you really stretch the lines, like, I once played against a guy that had a Fire Raptor, which was like it was like a styrofoam and aluminum dragon wrapped around a thing, and he like spent a lot of time on it. So I was like, okay, you know, I'm going to play with it. But then we started measuring to hole and stuff like that, and I'm like, all right, listen, you know, like that's where it starts to become a problem. So just kind of be aware of those things if you are doing that. But like Reese said, counts as cool. If you have an Inquisitor that's like, you know, like just fucking baller, and you're like, yeah, I crafted it from like a wood piece that floated on the ocean onto the beach. You're like, people are going to be like, Jesus Christ, you're amazing and you're awesome, and like that's cool. Yeah. So as long as you're not taking advantage of it, you're cool, and it's close enough, you're going to be okay.
The rule of cool. We had a guy that we used to play with regularly many years ago, he would use orcs as Necrons, and he's like, the Ludas are destroyers, and the boys are immortals, and it's just like, no, like half of them were Necrons, half of them, it was awful. A piece of terrain was a monolith. No, no, that's not cool.
Go buy the army, please.
Yeah, just
do it.
Just do it. And if you're gonna do a scratch build, make sure that it's reasonably recognizable as what it's supposed to represent.
Right.
We always say roughly the same size and shape. You're good to go. Recently completed commission. We just completed this very awesome commission of Karn the Betrayer. This is our tabletop plus standard of quality. Check it out. It's an absolutely gorgeous model. Karn the Betrayer, all-time one of the top 5 coolest characters in 40K. And we are always happy to take new commissions. So if you want to get something done, make sure to shoot that in to painting@frontlinegaming.org, or check out the painting tab at frontlinegaming.org, and you can take a look at our prices, some examples of our work, and also we have a new automated Space Marine quote system. It's still kind of like in beta, so to speak, but you download it off the site, watch the cool little video Kian made and Kian and Mariana made, and it'll show you how to fill it out, and you can self-quote yourself for a Space Marine army. Give us feedback too, because it's a new system. All right. Oh, speaking of videos, the narrative battle report is a little behind schedule. It is looking spectacular though. Like, really, really happy with how it's coming out. We have we had to overcome some very interesting hurdles. For example, you know what, I'm going to save this for the next show because it's so funny. Mariana doesn't play 40K, and she's learning how, but there's a certain baseline of knowledge that we just assume people have, like what a model is. So this first one is taking a little bit longer than anticipated, but it will absolutely be worth the wait. I think people are going to love this video. Our goal is to get it up on YouTube today. May not happen, but that's what we're shooting for. After this will be a more consistent release schedule. We're going to have ongoing narratives with these battle reports where the characters take on personalities, the models, you know, you get to know them. When they die, it's a sad affair. We think they're going to be really, really popular. The production value is 1,000 times better than anything we've done so far. So hopefully people like that. Hopefully it'll be up on YouTube today. That's what we're shooting for. But it took a lot longer than expected because of things we couldn't have even really guessed. I'll share some pictures on Monday's podcast that are hilarious, and they really help to illustrate some of the issues that you don't anticipate. At any rate, list for review. This is a really interesting list. I really like it. It's very funky and different, and I think it would actually be quite good too. So 1850 points. We have a Skyhammer Annihilation Force with the Red Hunters chapter tactics already super cool. So we got one assault squad of 5. We have a veteran sergeant with a power fist, and there's an eviscerator in the unit. Another assault squad of 7 with 2 flamers. We have a devastator squad of 10 with 4 grav cannons, and then we have another devastator squad of 10 with 4 grav cannons. We have a knight detachment with a paladin, and then we have the Assassinorium execution force with the Calidus, Calexis, Eversur, and Vindicare. Very funky, very different. I like it a lot. I think this would be a really fun army to play. Obvious downside, you have a very low model count, but the models that you have are all very powerful. So, Jeff, what is your take on this?
Yeah, I mean, the first thing is super tactically that leaps out at me is Grav is very weak against Void Shield, and you don't have much in the way of knocking that down. Like the Paladin can take off a shield, I guess. And then after that, you're kind of in trouble. So if they can bubble wrap in that, but that's just like one specific thing that's a little bit more common, but not the end of the world. So just maybe find the points to do things like put a couple of meltas in there as opposed to all that grav cannon, because that is 8 grav cannon shots, my friend, and a combi grav. You're killing stuff with that, so that's good. And then scoring, I always look at this as scoring to the objective as well. I actually like the Assassinorium execution force in that sense. Like, You walk up to that table that has no cover at all. Obviously, you're like, oh, okay, I guess I'll just sit here and die. But for the most part, they wandering around are pretty cool. Reese played a bunch of them. I'm sure we'll talk about it in a second. But like, they actually they're really fun to play. It's pretty awesome that way.
It's a super fun formation. I've got a new list that incorporates them in that I think will work. But I like this army. And then one of the cool things is that with the Red Hunters chapter tactics, they can choose a USR to apply to all of to a number of units corresponding to the turn. So, say turn 2, Helldrakes come on, you drop down your Skyhammer Annihilation Force, you give yourself Skyfire. On the 2 Grav units, dead flyers, you know. Or you need a Tank Hunter or a counterattack or whatever. The Red Hunters give you a lot of flexibility. I really do like it. My one critique is that the Assault Squad with the Eviscerator and the Sergeant with the Power Fist, that should be the 7-man squad. You want more meat shields for those than the Flamers.
Yeah.
So that would be my suggestion. And one of the cool things about this unit is if the Devastators shoot a unit and they fail their 3d6 leadership check, the Assault Squads get to reroll to hit and wound, which includes Hammer of Wrath. It's gnarly. It makes them so good. That's what I've been using mine, and they've been tearing shit up. They're really good.
Yeah, I like the Power Fist. That's nice. A lot of people tell you that when you put it on the Sergeant, they can get challenged out or whatever, but it still actually will come in handy. It's pretty cool. Actually, the Flamers are something to look at because unless you have like homing beacons on these pods that we're not seeing or something like that, or maybe you find the points for it, if you're close enough to flame, you're also dangerously close enough to mishap as well, which, you know, again, a lot of people are like, I'm fine with that, I'm balls to the wall. Okay, cool. But something to think about, maybe finding points for just one homing beacon. And then, like I said, if you hit a Void Shield, you're just shit out of luck. So another option to perhaps look at is putting the Storm Spear Missile Pack on top of the Knight. That's 3 strength 8 shots. You have a pretty good chance on the Knight alone to drop 1, 2, or less so 3 shields, and then you're in business with all your graph.
Yeah, I agree. So, good list. I think it looks like a lot of fun. And everybody, thank you so much for joining us for the show. We're going to go ahead and jump in and answer some questions.
Woohoo!
What up in the question section?
Red Hunters. This is PJ. Eric Herger used him at LVO 2 years ago for his bike list, which then obviously everyone switched to White Scars afterwards, but pretty cool. If you're like turn 5, boom.
He used White Scars and Red Hunters. And he used the Red Hunters specifically to kill Helldrakes.
There you go.
Because a bike army lives in mortal fear of Helldrakes.
Yeah. Which are coming back, by the way, buddy. Everyone's dusting off their
Yeah,
dragons.
they're so back. James Carmona on our team, he has a really nasty Khorne Demonkin Necron list with 2 Helldrakes and then the Destroyer, or the Doomscythe formation.
Yeah.
It's really, really good. We had a really, really fun game versus my airborne army. Does Fat J Sleeve, he asks, does In Control ever skip leg day?